TaxAct can think of a million things more fun than filing taxes. TaxAct is going to name some now. Sitting in traffic. Folding a fitted bedsheet. Listening to your coworker talk about his fantasy team. Digging a hole. Digging an even larger hole next to that original hole. Unfortunately, TaxAct's filing software can't make taxes fun. But TaxAct can help you get them done. TaxAct. Let's get them over with.
Your planet is now marked for death.
Marvel Studios' The Fantastic Four: First Steps is now streaming on Disney+.
We will protect you.
As a family.
Light him up, Johnny!
Marvel's first family is certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes.
That is fantastic.
And critics say it's one of the best superhero movies of all time.
Oh!
Marvel Studios' The Fantastic Four: First Steps, now streaming on Disney+. Rated PG-13.
What time is it, Ben? It's clobber time!
Hello and welcome back to Off the Record on Tudor's Dynasty and Beyond. I'm Rebecca Larson.
And I'm Amy McElroy.
And we're back again. It's another Sunday. You guys can't get rid of us.
Nope.
Nope, she says you definitely cannot. Well, I feel like the last episode was kind of a fun one. And I know at the end of that one, I had said too that I was a little worried that we weren't going to have enough to talk about. And I was mistaken because it was a decent length episode. And I feel like we got so many comments from this. I don't know if this is like the one episode we got the most comments from. Would you think?
I think it probably is. It certainly sparked quite a lot of thoughts. So
yeah, and if you're just listening now and you haven't listened to that episode was what if Henry VII had remarried? And then we added the little caveat at the end, and what would have happened if he had children by his new wife too. So that was fun. What were people saying?
So some of the comments, we've got Jodie, who said, I wonder what Margaret Beaufort would have thought of some of your suggestions. Keep up the great work, ladies. Thank you, Jodie. I think that's a good thing. So I don't know what Margaret Beaufort would have thought. I don't think she'd have been mad at him for remarrying and having kids because, that's what was done in those days.
Yeah. She did it. She didn't have kids, but...
Julie said Henry VIII would still have inherited the throne from his father, but if he had a half-brother who lived to adulthood, I don't think Henry VIII would have been as desperate to have a son of his own. So then we have the other side of that from Letty, who says, I think young Henry would have accepted siblings, but older Henry, after his life unfolded the way it did, might have considered them a threat, especially if they were male and later had sons of their own. So,
yeah,
young Henry versus old Henry.
Kind of goes with our topic.
Laurie, who said, thanks for another thought-provoking episode. The situation with the half-siblings could be challenging, but in the case of Henry VI, he embraced his half-brothers Edmund and Jasper and gave them titles and prime places at court, so it can work out. Indeed it can. I think the only difference there is that obviously Henry VII's new wife would have been Queen of England. So whereas obviously Edmund and Jasper were not born of a king and reigning queen.
Right, yeah, that would have... Big difference there.
Yeah. Wayne says, my favourite beer drinking friends. Yay.
I love Wayne.
Educational programming. I love your show, ladies. Amy can start any time and on any topic and fill it in. Amazing. Thank you, Wayne. Maya says Catherine Gordon was a possible wife candidate.
Oh, yeah, we forgot about her.
Oh, yeah, we did forget about her. Deanna says, another information-packed episode. I don't think you can compare Henry marrying Catherine to Louis marrying Mary. Apart from the age differences, Isabella's reaction wasn't so much about the age difference, but Henry marrying his widowed son's daughter would be considered incestuous. So, Bam Bam says, I love that name. So, Ellen says, absolutely love this idea for a hypothetical. I swear, Thursdays and Sundays are the best. So there you go.
Aw, I love that.
Thursdays are with Matt, aren't they? So.
Yeah, they are. So people don't like me on Tuesdays, whatever. I'm just kidding. I mean, they are Thursdays and Sundays are the more fun, laid back episodes.
They also said, so I leave this one with you to think about. I seriously hope we get a video of Rebecca being interviewed about Thomas. As a huge Catherine Parr fan, I've always felt like there had to be more to the story and their relationship for it to have endured the way it did throughout so many years. Even though the show was fictional, it makes me wonder if it was almost an Anne Neville, Richard, and Elizabeth of York situation that was portrayed in The White Queen.
Mm.
So, just from my side, there will be a video that will be released after the day after the live event. That will be on Substack, but it will be up to Rebecca to decide if she wants to post it elsewhere.
I'm sure I will. As much as I probably want to hide after it, I probably will share it.
Caroline says another topic to think about. Edward IV was taken prisoner during the Wars of the Roses, but was eventually released. What if Warwick and Clarence actually killed him?
Oh.
Laura says it would not have been pretty if the children of the much loved and revered Elizabeth of York had been disinherited in favour of a foreign alliance. Totally agree with that. I
Mm.
don't think Margaret Beaufort would have supported that either.
I think
Also
that was
agree.
something you mentioned on the show too when it came to Elizabeth of York and the Plantagenet
Yeah.
connection. Yeah.
Half siblings welcomed when they were little and could be played with or ignored as his fancy struck him. However, later in his reign, I think he would see them as a threat until he had a son, and
Yeah.
probably after he had a son. If he viewed Plantagenet blood as a threat, I think he would also view Tudor half sibling blood as a threat. So,
Oh,
yeah,
geez. We had a lot of comments.
we did. Aisha said, loved the episode. I think that even if Henry VII had another son, Henry VIII would have wanted his own son as Mary I was his heir. And I'm sure that even though she's a girl, some of the nobility would have been unhappy with Henry VIII's brother being king instead of his daughter. So that's
Mm,
another thing to think
that's
about.
good. How about you pick one more?
One more. Ooh.
I know there's just so many. We'll be here all day if we read all of them.
We'll go with Joni's. Okay, so Joni says, I think as a living symbol of joining the houses of York and Lancaster, Henry VIII still succeeds his dad regardless of any male heirs. Agree. Henry VII might have had a second wife. I also think Henry VIII was too vain to not want a son of his own to succeed him rather than a half brother. I think the potential game changer would be if any male son of a second marriage of Henry VII or male offspring of that line was still living after Edward VI died, and therefore what would that mean for Mary and
Yeah.
Elizabeth?
Yeah.
So there
Gosh.
you go, lots to think about.
Yeah. And I feel like today's topic kind of ties in nicely a little bit to that because today we're going to be talking about some executions under Henry VIII. And I feel like the question is, who was safe under Henry VIII? The answer to that is nobody. Nobody was safe.
Oh, I don't know. Mary,
Yeah. Oh,
sister,
yeah. Yeah. She's the only one. Everybody
that's
else.
about it.
I mean, he executed two of his queens.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah, his sister, I mean, his daughter Mary was safe. She didn't get executed. She
yeah.
probably could have, but there were
He wasn't
lots.
very nice to her sometimes, though.
No, he definitely wasn't. He wasn't father of the year material by any means. He was too
Mhm.
selfish. So we want to look at some of the key executions. We're going to exclude Anne Boleyn and Catherine Howard because I feel like we talk about them all the time. We're going to look at a few. I had some that I wanted to talk about. Amy had some that she wanted to talk about. I feel like we should just do them chronologically if we can. I have the order here, so hopefully I can keep us on track. We will see how this goes. I don't know that we'll get through them all,
It
but
might be a long one
yeah, we're gonna do our
or a
best.
two-parter. We'll see.
We'll see how it goes. Okay, so just to kind of set the scene a little bit, Henry VIII ruled for 38 years. He executed dozens of his friends. I mean, when we look at what people say, how many people were executed under the reign of Henry VIII, you often hear that number like 70,000 people were executed. I don't know how they come up with that number. I think it's totally inflated, but he did execute
I think it
quite a few.
is. And I think, sometimes I don't believe that Mary the First deserves the moniker of Bloody Mary at all. That is ridiculous. Um, they're all as bad as each other, as far as I'm concerned, other than Henry killing his wives. But
Yeah.
I think we find it easy to forget that that was the punishment at the time.
Hmm.
We don't live in those times. For the people that lived back then, they knew that certain actions would result in that punishment. They knew,
Yeah.
but they
Yeah.
did it anyway. So I
Mm.
think a lot of Henrys would have come from um, uprisings and things like that, rather than him selecting individuals and going, let's chop their heads off. I don't think he sat around doing that.
Yeah.
So most of it was probably not even him saying go and do it. It would have been that's the law of the land. So your dukes, your earls, blah blah blah, they had the control over their areas. So it wasn't even necessarily Henry. And I'm not trying to say that he was a lovely person, but I think he gets a lot of blame for stuff that wasn't necessarily him.
I'm ready for the comments.
I will not be back next week.
Amy's going on vacation. It's just going to be me. I know people, it's 50-50 when it comes to Henry VIII. People either love him or they hate him, and he's somewhere in the middle. He was
Yeah,
human.
he was human and he was a man of his time. Like, I still think he was wrong for killing his wives,
Yeah.
but we don't live then. I think it's really easy for us to go, that was wrong.
It was different then. It's
Yeah.
not the same now. Okay, so to kind of start off, I want to ask you a question and I want to see what your answer is. So if you could pick one moment when Henry VIII's court became truly dangerous, when would that be?
1534 to 1535.
Oh, so that would be what during the time after he married Anne and he had the oath of supremacy and what was
Yeah.
the, like there was
I
two things.
think 1534 Act of Supremacy was passed by Parliament, and it was originally those men that were asked to sign the oath of supremacy. But that's when you see people like Thomas More taking a step back, or they already have by that point because they can see it coming. I
Yeah,
think they could see the danger ahead. And from that point, I don't think it was safe for anyone that disagreed with that oath, which was huge for a country that was Catholic.
yeah.
Huge. And, you're asking them to sign an oath that, let's face it, half of the population can't even read it.
Right. That's a good
But they
point.
know it's going to come to them eventually. Like, obviously, it didn't go out to every member of the public or anything like that, but it went down the ranks. And those people that were in power would have been expected to share that news with their tenants, their employees, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I think from that point is when it starts to become dangerous that if you disagree with this, you're done. You're done for.
Yeah. And
So
we're
I
gonna
think that point.
and we're gonna get to that part of Henry VIII's reign and the executions that occurred during that time. But first I want to go back to one of the earlier ones. And of course we know the Epsom and Dudley stuff happened at the beginning of Henry VIII's reign, but I'm going to go to Edward Stafford, the third Duke of Buckingham, because I don't know why, I just find this one fascinating. And so I think I want to start out. Let's see here. Of course, I thought I was all organized, and I am not as organized as I thought I was. Okay, so Edward Stafford, who was he? I think he was the son of the second Duke of Buckingham. Buckingham, if I'd say it the proper way there.
Is this gonna be a how do English say it
Yeah.
versus American?
We were just having like this conversation before we started the show about accents and how to say things. And I'd ask her how to pronounce something, and I was like, how do I say that in American? Okay, so Edward Stafford, third Duke of Buckingham, was the son of the Henry Stafford, second Duke, who was executed under Richard III. So I find this so fascinating that his father was executed too. His mother was Catherine Woodville, sister of Elizabeth Woodville. So there we got some connections. Edward Stafford married Eleanor Percy, who was the daughter of the Duke of Northumberland. I feel like we got like all these titles that we talk about so much in the show are kind of coming together. They had several children. Their daughter, Elizabeth, actually married Thomas Howard, third Duke of Norfolk. So I find this interesting, like all these family connections, right? And their son, Henry Stafford, married Ursula Pole, the daughter of Margaret Pole. So we have a lot of family connections at this point. Edward Stafford was one of the highest ranking nobles in England.
Yeah.
He was very wealthy. He commanded huge estates. He descended from Edward III. So I feel like a lot of people descended from both Edward I and III. So he had some claim to the throne. He had royal blood, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that's when it became dangerous at the court of Henry VIII, when you had any royal blood. The charges against him were high treason, but they weren't for like leading a rebellion. They're basically just words that he spoke that were overheard by witnesses. And I think this says a lot about the law of treason at the time. And of course, I studied later with Edward VI and the 1547 Treason Act and how that changed a little bit and made it a little bit more difficult to be charged with treason than it was under Henry VIII. So the problem was that Edward Stafford apparently listened to prophecies that were predicting Henry VIII's death and discussed the possibility that maybe, who knows, maybe one day he might become king. We hear this now, don't you like just sit back and go, what? Why would you? I don't even know why you would think it would be okay, even like in private, with servants around saying these things.
Yeah. And I'm not being funny, but why are you employing people? Like, I know even the royal family got people in to do like astrology and things like that for children's births and stuff.
Yeah.
But you would think if you are a member of the nobility, if somebody starts speaking to you about the possibility of the king's death, that is the time when you go, shut up. I do not want to know. Not,
Like,
oh,
la la
tell
la
me
la.
more. Am I going to be king? Like, come on.
Yeah, he made a paper crown. He was wearing it around the house.
Mhm.
He was like, does this work with my outfit? How does it look? It's just such a crazy story to me.
I think on one hand, to us, it sounds stupid because if somebody said that today, nothing's going to happen. But back then, it was serious.
Imagining the king's death.
Yeah, especially saying it out loud. Like,
Yeah.
I think he just should have, he's in a position where he should have known better. So, and I'm not saying he's the only person that did it. I imagine lots of people did it, but they just didn't get found out.
I feel like that was the only thing Anne Boleyn was guilty of, was saying to, who was it, Norris, or I don't remember who it was, that he was,
Dead man's shoes.
yeah, yeah. To me, that was her mistake. Saying that out loud was probably the biggest mistake. I think that was the only thing that she was guilty of saying. And of course, she shouldn't have said it, but
She
it
shouldn't
came
have
out.
said it. And to be honest, I feel for him because you've literally just dropped somebody else in it by saying that.
Yes, yeah, she did, didn't she?
So, it's not just her. Like, it's, oh God. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah. Anyway, so one of the things I find interesting too is that this is during Thomas Wolsey's reign, so to speak. He was Henry VIII's right-hand man, and so
yeah.
Wolsey is behind the scenes investigating this, and it makes me wonder, like, how much of it was Wolsey whispering in Henry's ear, saying this is a threat, and did Stafford, Buckingham, not like Wolsey? I mean, that's something that I don't even know. Like, was there
I
something
don't
going on?
know. Probably not because let's face it, Wolsey was the power behind the throne. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. What I mean is when Henry came to the throne, he was very young. Wolsey knew what he was doing, and Henry just gave him more and more work
Yeah,
because he would rather be out riding or jousting or doing whatever young people want to do, which you can't really blame him for. But that's on Henry for giving Wolsey that much power. And obviously, as Henry grew older, he took more power back.
yeah, he did.
But you've already created this man that you've given all this power to. And the nobility didn't like it because why would they?
Right?
There's somebody that's not of the nobility, and I'm not saying they're right. I'm not saying that he needed to be of rank to be in that position, but back then that's how they thought.
Yeah.
And it's the same later on with Charles Brandon. He had the same issues because he wasn't born of the nobility. So people like Norfolk looked down on him. Norfolk looked down on Wolsey.
Yeah.
It's it's the same thing, like it's a nobility thing that just because they weren't originally part of the nobility, they shouldn't have as much power as somebody of the nobility. So I
Snobbery.
wouldn't be surprised if they didn't go on.
Yeah. Yeah. I wanted to add that because I always feel like that's kind of the thing that we always hear about Thomas Cromwell too, who we'll talk about today. But Thomas Cromwell's always the one behind the scenes pulling the strings. Wolsey was that before Cromwell, and maybe that's how Cromwell learned how to get stuff done for the king. So Edward Stafford, third Duke of Buckingham, was executed on Tower Hill, as is expected, in May 1521. This is another thing I kind of noticed while researching this. So many of the executions happened in the spring, which I guess kind of makes sense weather-wise, maybe. Um, but I think it was like the 17th of May too. So I thought, oh, wasn't that the day that Anne Boleyn's brother and the men were executed? Was the 17th of May? It's hard to
Probably only one of the nice days of the year that London has. So
They're
I
like,
should say England, actually.
yeah. So that was in 1521. And contemporary accounts say that a large crowd gathered to watch, and that Buckingham delivered a speech acknowledging the justice of the king, which obviously was very common. They would always do that when they were up there getting ready
Yeah.
for their certain death. And he warned spectators about the dangers of listening to prophecies, which of course was the central charge that was
Yeah.
against him. So he was beheaded with an axe. I'm hoping it was just a single stroke. Those were like, but to me, like, oh yes, it was the more merciful way to die. But man, if you got a new executioner or one that was intoxicated because he had to do this terrible job, I can't even imagine. And to be spectators at such an event, that's something we can't understand in modern day.
Absolutely not.
I
I can't imagine going to watch something like that when there's stalls selling beer and snacks, and I just think if I was forced to watch it, that's one thing, but having it as a day out, what? But again, we live in a completely different time. So
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we've
we
talked
also
before.
don't go and watch bear baiting and
I was
stuff
just gonna
like
say
that.
that.
So,
Yeah, exactly.
well, I don't. I don't know about anyone else. I
No,
don't.
gosh, I hope not. I hope that doesn't exist anymore. Bear baiting and cockfighting and all that stuff. Yeah, it
Yeah.
is a different form of We have many other forms of entertainment now that we enjoy. Most of them are watching TV.
Yes.
That's
Or reading.
yes,
That's
or
enough. That's enough entertainment.
I think so too. It's fine by me. So really his execution kind of sent a clear message early in Henry VIII's reign that even the greatest nobles were not beyond royal authority. And I think he made that pretty clear with this execution.
Yes.
So that was Edward Stafford, their Duke of Buckingham. I know there wasn't a whole lot to say about him because it was pretty straightforward. But if we're going to go chronologically, then the next person we need to talk about was executed in 1535. If you're listening, can you guess who that was? This one, I think, this one is tragic to me. I mean, the third Duke of Buckingham, okay, yeah, like it sucked that that happened to him. But Thomas More to me is just, I still can't believe that
I
Henry.
I think Thomas More is one of those people that people either like him or they hate him. And I understand that people hate him and, there's claims about him torturing people. I'd like to see the evidence for those claims because I've never seen it. Yes, he held people prisoner in his home. That was part of his role. So, what's he meant to do? Just not do it.
Right, right.
But I've never seen a piece of evidence that he tortured people. And again, burning, hanging were all punishments known for the time period. And again, I'm not saying it was right. I'm just saying it's difficult for us to judge when we didn't live at that time.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, I don't like Henry for what he did to Thomas More.
No, because this was at the same time Thomas More and Bishop John Fisher were tossed into the tower. And this all goes back to what we said at the beginning, right? The act of supremacy.
Yeah, I think for Thomas More, it started beforehand. Like, obviously, he gave up his chancellorship, chancellery, whatever you want to call it. Um, he didn't go to Anne's coronation, but he never spoke out publicly about Anne, ever. He even wrote to Henry and said, like, I hope you and the new queen are both well, in good health, whatever he said. He never said anything bad about her. He just didn't agree with the oath of supremacy. So I'm like, it's very harsh that somebody that you've spent years with, as not just working for you, he wasn't just your, employee. They were friends.
Right.
They'd
Right.
spend hours like talking about theology and whatever else. And I honestly struggle to understand why Henry made that decision. And I'd like to think that he regretted it. I hope he regretted it.
Yeah, it's one of those you can tell that Thomas More saw Henry as a true friend in the fact that he would not speak out publicly against him that way. I mean, that is what a true friend would do. He's like, no, I don't necessarily agree with what you're doing, but I'm not going to go around telling everybody that. I'm not going to go around printing stuff saying that.
Yeah.
I'm
And he
loyal to
didn't.
you.
He just gave his seal and left and went home. And that's all he wanted. He just wanted to stay at home with his family. And I don't know. I'll probably get comments for saying what I've already said about Thomas More and torture and whatever else, but I don't know. I think there was obviously someone in Henry's ear.
Kayak gets my flight, hotel, and rental car right. So I can tune out travel advice that's just plain wrong.
Bro, Skycoin. Way better than points.
Never fly during a Scorpio full moon.
Just tell the manager you'll sue. Instant room upgrade.
Stop taking bad travel advice. Start comparing hundreds of sites with Kayak and get your trip right.
Bad advice? You talking to me?
Kayak. Got that right.
You've been there, settling in for an evening of TV only to waste half the night scrolling. Enter Fire TV, entertainment with zero effort required. Fire TV serves up personalized recommendations from across all your apps. Not sure what to watch? Just tell Alexa Plus what you're in the mood for and she'll pull up the perfect recommendation. Problem solved. Stop the scroll, start the show. Find what you're looking for with Fire TV. Subscriptions may be required.
Do you think it was Anne?
No comment.
I think it was probably Anne. I don't know who else would have gotten him.
I think my no comment gives it away what I think.
Really?
Yeah, I do. Like,
I'm okay.
I don't even know if she would have wanted him executed or if for her it was a concern for her of how much influence Thomas More had. And not just in England. Do you know what I mean? Like, he was known throughout Europe. He wasn't just known in England. Like Charles V, when Thomas More died, literally said, had we been master of such a servant, we would rather have lost the best city of our dominions than such a worthy counsellor.
Wow. He was respected. He was well respected.
Massively. And Erasmus basically said, when he died, I died. We were one soul.
Wow.
So I would like to think that Henry did regret it. But it's just sad. Like, his family were left behind to pick up the pieces, and it's just horrible. So yeah. If it's not obvious, I do like Thomas More. So.
Yeah, how do you not? I don't have anything against him, honestly. I think he was a loyal servant. He seems like a good man. He, I mean, just what you said about Erasmus gave me goosebumps.
And if you read his letters, he's actually got a sense of humor. I think he's always put across as this, like, dour-faced, serious, like, no, he wasn't. He was fun when he wanted to be. So, yeah.
I've always wanted to read Utopia. Have you ever read it?
Yes.
Is it good? Is it readable?
It's not the easiest thing to read in the world, but it's interesting. It's definitely worth a read.
Oh, I bet I can find that for free somewhere as an ebook, right? It's in the public domain.
Yeah,
I would assume.
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you read that, you've also got to read Erasmus's Praise of Folly.
Ooh, I feel like this is a reading challenge. I have to find time. I can barely find time to read for interviews that I'm doing. I just wish, if only I was like a super reader, like somebody who could just like scan pages and just retain everything that you just, I wish I could do that. I really do. But I'd like to really sit and enjoy a book and enjoy the words that were chosen. And
yeah,
that's a problem I have. So Thomas More got locked up in the tower.
And that's the other bit. It's really sad that they went in and took his pens and paper off him. Do you know what I mean? And they banned his family from visiting. And this is where I will give Cromwell his due. He allowed Margaret to visit. And this is what, if you haven't watched or read Wolf Hall, you need to, because they get a lot really right. Like, it's brilliant how much they've got right. And he did. He let her go and visit. And I think Cromwell's point of view was, I hope that she can convince him to sign it.
Yeah.
She signed it. Do you know what I mean? Like she knew, otherwise I'm going to end up where my dad is. He never once held that against her.
No.
He just wouldn't do it himself. So it's sad that they then, yeah, took his papers away, so he couldn't even write. So it's Henry's fault that we're actually missing more works of Thomas More.
Henry.
He can have that
Man.
on his conscience too.
I don't remember, and I don't know if you know this off the top of your head. Was he locked away for quite some time?
It wasn't short. It wasn't years. It was less than a year, I think,
Okay.
or just about a year. It wasn't a short stint,
Okay. It's just
but
such
it
a
was really long,
loss.
you know.
It really is a loss to history. When I was in England, I went to Buckfast. I'll make sure I get this right. Buckfast Abbey in Devon, where they have what they say was his hair shirt. And they let me go up behind the ropes to go up there and look at it closely. And there was something very moving about being there, imagining that he wore that. Whether it really was something that he wore or not, 'cause I think we know how things changed in England under Henry
I
VIII.
believe he wore it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think he was pious enough to wear a hair shirt.
I can't even imagine. Just thinking about it makes me like all itchy and,
Yeah.
and uncomfortable. But I was like emotional there, sitting at that. It's like this little chapel off to the side, and you can light a candle. And I just remember lighting a candle for my grandmother, who was very Catholic, and sitting down in one of the pews and just staring ahead. And all of a sudden, like the tears just came. And I thought, wow, this is such an emotional moment being near this relic and imagining what it was like. It's just
Yeah.
so moving.
And I'd love to know what actually happened to his head as well. So for anyone that doesn't know the story, his head was obviously cut off and put on a spike.
Yeah.
It's alleged that his daughter Margaret persuaded the man that would usually take them down and throw them into the river to give her father's head, and she kept it. And that makes me sad. I'm like, that's,
Yeah.
you know,
I wonder if she buried it in holy ground or something
I
to
don't
honor.
know because there's so many stories that like she still had it when she died.
Oh,
So it was, I think one of the theories is, or stories, I should say, is that it was put in some kind of thing and it was suspended above her tomb when she was buried. Other
oh,
stories are that it was buried with her husband when he was buried. So who knows? His poor head is probably out there somewhere, like
no.
whether it's with her or I don't know.
Have you seen the images of I don't even know what to call it, like the petrified head of Henry Grey, the Duke
Yes.
of Suffolk? Like, I don't even like know what to say about that. When you see something like that, it's like it shakes you a little bit too, just to think, wow, that is I it's rendered me speechless, especially when
Yeah.
it like if she had his head, if she had her father's head that long.
I
I just
imagine, to be fair to her, she was probably scared to have it buried because what if someone found out? Because
Yeah.
technically, obviously, at the time, you need to be buried in hallowed land to go to heaven. And yes, his body was buried at the tower,
Hmm.
but without his head. So that technically makes him unwhole.
Yeah.
So you've got somebody so pious that is stuck in purgatory.
Ugh.
So does she bury it and risk that somebody finds out and destroys it? Or does she keep it with her knowing that when she dies, it can possibly be buried with her. And then her father can go to heaven with her.
What an impossible decision for a daughter to make. What to do? Oh, I feel like we hear so many stories about heads being kept. Didn't we talk about Bess Throckmorton keeping Walter Raleigh's head in a bag? I don't know if that story is real or not, but like I just go like
we spoke about oh, what was it? Didn't we speak about Juana of Castile as well, keeping Philip's body?
Yeah, like carrying it around with her.
Yeah.
I don't really know the truth behind those stories, and it almost makes it sound like the women are just so beside themselves with grief that they couldn't think straight, and that would
And
be
I think it very much sounds like, obviously well, I'd hope it wasn't like this. It makes it sound like they're just carrying them around in a handbag. Do you know what I mean? Like they're not gonna be doing that, are they? So
I don't mean to laugh, but it's just so ridiculous when you think of it that way,
yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
Oh my
But no, I
gosh.
do I do feel for especially Margaret, and I think she spent so long after his death, like collecting his writing, trying to persuade people that, he wasn't a traitor. He was a loyal servant.
Yeah.
And obviously it worked. He's a saint.
Yeah, and we're still
Obviously he
talking.
wasn't sainted when she was alive,
No.
but I don't think we can minimize her attempts towards that because through her writing, we've got her husband, so William Roper, he wrote one of the earliest biographies. So he wrote a biography of Thomas More. They, even when Margaret died, William carried on, pulling all Thomas's writings together, protecting his works so they wouldn't be destroyed, all of that kind of stuff. And I think that just shows utter loyalty, especially from William, because let's face it, it was his father-in-law. What loyalty should he really have
Yeah.
once Margaret's dead? Even once Thomas is dead, because he's putting himself in danger. He didn't care. He carried on collecting his writing, publishing. And
I
I
feel
think probably because of those two is why so many people did carry on an interest into Thomas More, and hence he was sainted.
yeah, and they've kept his memory alive, and we're still talking about him centuries later.
Yep.
Okay, well, I feel like I'm going to eliminate the next one that I was going to talk about so that I have time to talk about some other ones. You never know like how long each of these are going to go. So like I have a list of them that I looked into. I was going to talk about Henry Courtney and the Exeter conspiracy, but we'll skip past that today because that was in 1538. So we had Thomas More, who was executed in July 1535. And then obviously that was like right around the same time as Bishop Fisher, too,
Yes.
who we mentioned. And then obviously in between there, Anne Boleyn and all her men around her were executed in 1536. Then we get to 1538. Henry Courtney, Marquess of Exeter, was executed, who, by the way, was like a close childhood friend of Henry VIII. It was his cousin. Okay?
Yeah.
Nobody was safe in Tudor England. And if you had Plantagenet blood, you were in trouble. So anytime you tried to form any rebellion or uprising and you got caught, that was going to cause you some problems. But next, let's go to let's see here. Probably Thomas Cromwell is next, another notable and recognizable figure from Tudor history who rose high
And
and
another that I will not forgive Henry for.
yes, he rose high and fell hard.
He did. And honestly, I do think he regretted this one. I genuinely do think he regretted it. I
Yeah.
think he got so caught up in what Cromwell's enemies were saying, Norfolk, Stephen Gardner, blah, blah, blah. And I think, Cromwell by that point had so much power and he was literally from Putney. So I
Right.
think then they're never gonna like him, especially if he is not doing things for them.
Hmm.
He's doing things for Henry. And I just think they got tired of it that he was basically Henry's right hand man. And Norfolk especially wanted that position. He wanted to be the right hand man. He wanted to be the one that could persuade Henry to marry someone or do whatever he wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I definitely think Henry regretted this one. Now, the thing with Cromwell is obviously by the time he died, he only had one living legitimate child, which was Gregory.
Hmm.
And Gregory had actually married Elizabeth Seymour 3 years before Cromwell was executed. So he's married to a queen's sister.
Yeah. Yeah. The future king's aunt. I mean,
Yeah.
smart. He was
So,
smart.
no one's going to really touch him.
Hmm.
Even Henry's not going to do that, I don't think. But, like Gregory was also kind of like he wasn't the sidekick of his dad. He had his own life. Yes, he obviously was favoured through his dad, but he had his own marriage, he had his own kids. His dad had bought Lawnde Abbey for him. Um, so he had his own estate and he is actually buried there. So you can go and visit his tomb if you want to.
Oh,
Um, but he survived. So I mean, like he just kept away for a bit, and he still became first Baron Cromwell.
right.
So he was never in danger. And is Gregory carried on having his own children? So we had five. They inherited the titles as well. One of them, so Thomas Cromwell's eldest grandson, was implicated in the Cobham plot against Elizabeth I,
Oh, I didn't
but
know
he was
that.
actually cleared. So thankfully, he was cleared. Um, but yeah, they carried on the Baron title. Um, and then, but I think what's sad with Thomas Cromwell is he had so many people around him, like Risley. Yeah, I don't really care for him, so whatever. But people like Rafe Sadler, my
Yeah.
heart goes out to this guy because he was so loyal. He wasn't his child at all, but he was so loyal to Thomas Cromwell. And he must have been thinking, what happens now?
Yeah.
My master is done for. And he still stayed loyal to him. He still visited him. And, I think that to me is incredible loyalty. But even still, he stayed safe. So he wasn't, never in trouble. So he was seen as taking the wrong sides with the Lady Jane Grey Mary situation.
Mm.
And he did have to forfeit his estates to Mary. But he managed, once Elizabeth was on the throne, he was back in favour and he ended up being appointed Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster, which is no small feat. Like, that is
Wow.
insane for someone that was just working for Thomas Cromwell, um, you know, lost his whole estate to Mary, and then still managed to bring it back to the point that when he died in 1587, he was actually known as the richest commoner in England.
Wow.
Yeah, he was knighted on his own. He acted as a diplomat to Henry VIII after Cromwell was dead. He was involved in lots of treaties. He was on the Privy Council for Edward VI. So his influence was crazy.
Yeah.
Um, for where he once stood, knowing that Thomas Cromwell was gonna die.
I feel like there's a
So
lot of letters that you can find written by him too. So it really gives you an idea of who the person is when you can look at their letters.
absolutely. And I think it shows that what he wasn't just loyal to Cromwell himself, he was loyal to what Cromwell was trying to do. So he supported like his attitude towards the church, hence why he chose Lady Jane Grey, forfeit his estates to Mary, and then rose back up under Elizabeth. So, it's I feel for him because I think he lost a lot, and it's the same with Richard Williams, who took on the name Cromwell. So he was actually the son of Cromwell's sister.
Ah, okay.
Um, and he even had his own kids. And he was knighted the year that Cromwell was executed. The following year, he's appointed High Sheriff. He was an MP. He received a hell of a lot of property through Henry VIII. He acted as commander of the cavalry in 1543 when war was in France. You know, he wasn't sidelined. Um, and I think one of the most interesting thing about him is obviously he took the Cromwell name, so did the generations after him. So they were all called something Williams alias Cromwell. So
Wow.
they were known by both names. And it's actually through him that we get to that other Cromwell down the line called Oliver, or
The
he
naughty
shall
one.
not be named. Um, it's his line.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Gosh, I feel like anyone who was close to Henry VIII was at risk. And I know I always talk about the Seymours, but I feel like when Thomas Cromwell was at the height of his power during the dissolution of the monasteries, it was the people closest to him, like the Seymours, who were able to snatch up so much land because of their connection to Cromwell. So anyone who was connected to him at that time benefited. But then
Yeah.
when he was executed, it makes me wonder, like, even how the Seymours felt at that point. Like, oh shit, okay, well, this guy was super powerful, and I know we have a nephew who's heir to the throne, but what happens if he doesn't survive and we make a wrong turn? That could be
Yeah.
us too.
Yeah. And to me, it's very hard to understand how grown men can be so jealous of somebody's position that they would actually see them killed. That I just don't understand that.
I always think about this scene, especially in Wolf Hall, when Cromwell is detained and everybody turns against him in like the shock that he's like, wait, what is happening right now? And you have Norfolk over there just like smirking, like, yeah, I got you, buddy. I finally got you right where I wanted you.
And
He's
when you think of how much Cromwell actually did for these individuals, how hard he worked for all of them,
Yeah.
that's how they thank him.
Norfolk is one of those people I wish
I
karma would
can't
have got him.
stand
He
him.
got so lucky.
I
And we're not gonna
cannot
have
stand him. I don't like Norfolk. I do not like
yeah.
Stephen Gardner.
Yes.
Nuh-uh.
I'm right there with you. Just at Richard Rich, he's another one. I'm like, just evil men who are just
Risley, don't like him either. I think he
yeah,
was just false.
yeah. But Cromwell had to go, you know. Catherine Howard needed to marry the king, right?
But I would like to think that Cromwell and More together would be two of Henry's biggest regrets.
Yeah, that's a good
Along
point.
with Wolsey. I know he didn't execute him, but he may as well have done.
Yeah, really, the way he treated him at the end.
Mhm.
Yeah, Henry just had a way. Being close to him was dangerous. I know I keep saying that, but it doesn't matter if you were family or a close friend. He could turn on you at any moment.
Yeah.
And the fact that Cromwell was executed the same day Henry VIII married Catherine Howard, it's just the icing on the cake, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that the scene in the Tudors where he's executed? Or am I thinking of the Anne Boleyn one where he's executed and the cannon goes and then he marries Catherine Howard right after or something along those lines?
Yeah.
Oh
I think
man.
it's the Tudors.
Yeah. I've been rewatching some of these old shows again. I feel like I have to rewatch Wolf Hall. That is one of my favorites. Like there's so much
I
about
have
it.
a confession.
Was
I still haven't watched the last episode.
I
I
I
can't.
really
Can't do it.
I feel like it was so long ago that I saw it. I don't even remember if it was.
I went to watch Mirror and the Light at the theatre and I sobbed. I sobbed in the middle of a theatre and I just think, yeah, there's no way I'm watching that episode. If I cried in the middle of a theatre, like, what is going to happen to me in my own home watching one single episode? No, just no. So I've watched all
Yeah.
the way. I just can't watch the last one. I obviously know
Yeah.
what happens because I've read all the books and, it's history, but I
Yeah.
just can't watch it.
You'll have to make yourself do it.
No,
You're not gonna do it. Not
no,
gonna do it.
no.
Oh man.
Not unless somebody can persuade me that Cromwell was an absolute horrible person that deserved to die, then I'll watch it.
Did any of these people really deserve to die other than Thomas Howard, third Duke? And then he got away without it because he got lucky. If Henry VIII hadn't died, Norfolk would have been right alongside his son, the Earl of Surrey. That one blows my mind. Okay, so I think we have time just for one more. And this is one that I really wanted to talk about because I just thought this was interesting because in Tudor England, it wasn't always rebellions or seditious words that got you killed. This one to me is just an interesting one because it's all about murder. And I'm going to talk about Thomas Fiennes, Lord Dacre. So this is I'm waiting for Amy to giggle because I had to ask her how to pronounce it. I was like, how do you say it in American? So I got it. Lord Dacre, not Dacre, not like a drink. Anyway, so who was he? Who was Thomas Fiennes? He was a young nobleman from a prominent Sussex family. He was the head of the Dacre family. He married Mary, I don't even know how to pronounce this name, Bergavany. I don't know. How do you say that? Don't laugh at me. She's choking. She just took a drink.
Say it again.
I'm trying to read it. Bergavany?
Bergavany.
Bergavany. See, I just never know where to put the emphasis on
You weren't
this.
far off, though.
Really? I can't even repeat what you just said. So he married Mary. Mary B. We'll just call her Mary B. But you'll probably know her best from her portrait because there is that portrait of her where she's like, I don't know, she looks middle-aged and she's sitting. And there's a portrait of him above her shoulder. That's who we're talking about, this guy, okay? He was also very wealthy or owner of large estates. So this is the part of the story that I think it's cute because like many young nobles, because he was only in his 20s at this time, like many young nobles of the time, he spent much of his life hunting and socializing with other aristocratic companions. Like, what a life, huh? Like, I don't really have a job. My job is to go hunting and socializing and, drinking and Unless
have dinner parties, and host a
oh.
tournament.
Yeah, I mean, what a life. But having a life like that, I think sometimes makes you feel like you're privileged in ways that you shouldn't be. So I want to tell you about this incident that happened in 1541. Okay. So this is after Cromwell is executed. Um, whoa, this is just it's just a weird story. Okay. So like I said, they like to go hunting. The problem was that one night he and a group of friends decided to go poaching deer in a park that didn't belong to them. Okay, so as you know, most of the time the deer belong to the king or they belong to whoever owned the park, so to speak. So you can't just go
Illegal to poach.
right, and poaching is illegal. You can't just go out and poach somebody's deer, and that was the problem because the park's keepers tried to stop them from poaching, and a violent fight broke out. And during the confrontation, one of the keepers, I'm just punishing myself with trying to pronounce these names. John Busbrig. I don't know how to say his name. It's Busbrig. So during this confrontation, one of the keepers, John B, another B, was killed. I can't pronounce these names, okay? It is not easy for an American to know how to pronounce these.
I just like that they're all B's so far.
Yeah,
We've
yeah,
got Mary B, John B.
They're not related, as far as I know. Okay, so even though Dacre himself didn't strike the fatal blow, the court ruled that he was responsible because he had led the illegal hunting party. Fair enough, right?
Yeah.
So Dacre and his companions are charged with murder, but it was kind of a complicated situation. Normally, nobles tried for felony could claim benefit of peerage, meaning that they would be tried by their peers rather than a common court and often received more lenient treatments. However, the court ruled that because the death occurred during an illegal hunting raid, Dacre was responsible for the actions of the group. And even though he didn't personally strike the fatal blow, he was considered legally responsible. I think that's fair, right? He was the titled person in the group. He was responsible for this hunting party. So he was tried before the king's bench, not a jury of his peers. I think this really affected the outcome. If he had been charged or had to speak in front of his peers, it probably would have been a little more lenient. He was found guilty of murder, obviously. I can't see how he would not.
That.
Yeah. The thing is, because of all of this, when he was found guilty, his sentence was to be hanged at Tyburn, not executed at Tower Hill. This is a big difference. Tyburn was like the place where everybody was hanged.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a marker there now, I think.
Yeah.
This is where the Tyburn tree was or something along those lines. This was in June 1541, like I said, and it was just such a big deal because I think he was a baron. Just having a baron hanged instead of beheaded, I think really sent a strong message to other men of nobility. Like, you can't get away with murder and not expect a stiff punishment.
Yeah.
And hanging was definitely a criminal's.
And I think you're right. If he'd have been on trial by his peers, he'd have been pardoned or found not guilty. There's so many pardons in the records of Henry VIII, so many for murder. And it's quite difficult because I think both sides have their own reasoning. Like, a group of his peers are probably not going to want to find him guilty because unless they're really old and boring, because what if they want to go on a illegal hunt Or
Yeah.
what if they're doing similar things? Or what if their children are doing similar things? They're not going to want to set the bar that one of our peers could be executed for leading an illegal hunt.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, illegal hunting, if you were caught, you were punished severely. So if you take the peers out of it and have the King's Bench, of course they're going to judge you how you would have judged a normal common person.
Yeah.
The same way you would have judged someone who'd come onto your land that was just trying to feed their family and killed one of your deer. That's illegal hunting. It's
Yeah.
poaching. Lord Dacre would have done the same thing.
Yeah. And what a level of arrogance he must have had to be able to go, we can go poach some deer. It's no big deal. And like you said, the average person, if they had been out there doing that, it would have been to feed their family. Did he really need this deer? Like, could he have not found it somewhere else? Maybe that was
On his
part of
own
the,
lands,
yeah,
probably.
maybe that was part of the thrill, was to do something illegal and try not to get caught and thinking,
I'll have to look into it because I'd like to know
yeah,
whose lands it was.
yeah,
That'd be
I
interesting.
don't know if I don't think I have that information written down here. I don't remember whose
It'd
it
be
was.
interesting to know whose lands they
Yeah.
were on.
Yeah.
Was it the King's lands? Because obviously that is a big, big deal.
Yeah.
Nobody is, he's going to have to face some kind of punishment if it was the King's lands, because nobody's going to turn around to the King and go, they were illegally hunting on your land and then killed someone
Right.
who was trying to protect your deer and your land. That's who they
Yeah.
killed.
Yeah.
Even Henry's not going to be very happy about that. Probably
No.
wouldn't execute them for it, but he's not going to be happy.
Right. And I just keep going back to the arrogance of it all. If the park's keepers approach you and they go, "Hey, what are you doing here? You can't be poaching our deer." And then Dacre probably got a little mouthy with him, or his friends got mouthy, and then it started in some fisticuffs.
Mhm.
Who knows?
Against gamekeepers who have probably got no weapons
Yeah.
because they're just there to, patrol. They're not going to have the types of weapons that the nobility have got, are they? So,
No, exactly. So I just thought that was an interesting little story to add to all of this because we kind of had a variety of things. We started out with Edward Stafford and the prophecy stuff and imagining the king's death, which makes sense. And then we go into Thomas More refusing to swear the oath and how unfortunately, Henry still allowed his dear friend to be executed. Thomas Cromwell, another one. Like, what did he do? Well, I can't even tell you what Thomas Cromwell did wrong to other than rising, from humble stock. And that's what was held against
had
him.
money, had a title,
Yeah.
had the king's ear,
Yeah.
did more work than most of the aristocracy put together.
Yeah.
People
And
don't like that. It makes them look lazy.
right, exactly. How dare you? And then I briefly mentioned Henry Courtney, who was Henry VIII's cousin. That was a problem, and especially when a cousin is, fueling a rebellion or any type of conspiracy, that's gonna
Mhm.
cause you some problems. And then we end with murder,
Yeah.
and nobody was safe in Tudor England. But if we go back to the beginning, I think you are completely right. It became extremely dangerous around 1534, 35. That's when there was like no turning back.
I'd love to know what other people think, though. Like if you
Yeah.
had to say a year that it turned very dangerous, what year?
Yeah. I would like to know that. I also want your opinion on, I think I know the answer to this already, but of these executions that we talked about, which one do you think was the most unjustified?
Do you really need to ask?
I mean, you were pretty strong about both Thomas More and Thomas Cromwell. You said you couldn't forgive Henry for either of those.
I'd go with Thomas More because of the friendship that they had.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. I think that one is the craziest one to even consider that he went through with it.
I think Cromwell, it's absolutely ridiculous what happened to him. But there was no friendship there beforehand. I think
Yeah.
Henry and Thomas More spent so many years together to then kill him just because he won't sign your stupid piece of paper.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah.
He could have even exiled him. Do you know what I mean? He could have said, okay, you need to get out of England. Go.
Yeah.
It's not as if he's royalty that can go across the sea and recruit an army. Like he's not interested.
No,
He just wants to live
yeah.
his life with his family. I'm sure if you'd have said you either die or you leave, take your family with you, you'll be safe, just go, he probably would have just gone. And then that's it. Instead, you killed him.
But if he had left, would he have formed an alliance with Reginald Pole? Ooh, there's a what if.
I was going to answer then. I won't answer. Maybe that's something that we need to look at.
Yeah, we have to write that one down because that might be an interesting episode. And I wanted to recommend a couple of books too, because obviously Dr. Joanne Paul recently published her
Absolutely incredible book.
Thomas More, and then the definitive Thomas Cromwell biography to me is Dermot McCulloch's book on Thomas Cromwell.
And Tracy Borman's is very good as well.
Yeah, I have I think 4 different Cromwell books that I went through this period of time where I wanted to learn everything I could about Cromwell. Maybe that's something I'll share on social media, the pictures of all of my Cromwell books. But yes, Tracy Borman's book is awesome.
Caroline Angus has one that's like Cromwell's Correspondence.
Yep.
That's good as well.
I think I have that one too. I'm trying to think who some of the other ones were, but I'll share a picture after
I'm a
this
letter
episode.
person. I like reading people's letters. So
yeah, I do too. That's why I have, if you can see, if you're watching on the shelf behind me, these red books right here, that's the Lyle letters, which is a lot of books to be able to go through. So it's just fascinating to see people writing each other and what they wrote about and how sometimes those fill in little gaps in history for you that you didn't know about.
Mm-hmm. I think it just gives a bit more insight into an actual person.
Yeah, it really does. Imagine
what they were actually writing rather than somebody writing about that person hundreds of years later.
I was just trying to think well, maybe it would be in comparative to emails today, but I thought my emails don't really show too much about me personally, as if somebody found my journals. I think before I die, I'm going to burn them all. I don't need anybody reading my journal.
I don't have any, so I'm okay. I'm safe.
I used to journal a lot. And I go back sometimes and read them and I go, whoa, I was going through some stuff. Anyway, this was kind of a fun little topic. It was a little different than what we normally do, but it also tied in with our last episode a little bit with Henry's paranoia. If he had had siblings by a different mother, how would that have played out? I think today's episode gave you a little idea that they weren't safe either.
Yeah. And, maybe if people have got suggestions, we can do another execution episode.
Yeah, there's plenty more people. I mean,
there's a lot to choose from.
I was I had a few people I didn't even get to today. So, and
I still think Wolsey should be included, even though he technically wasn't executed.
Yeah, that's a good one. Obviously, we didn't talk about Anne Askew. That's another one that's a great story to tell. I mean, it's not great for her, obviously, but the story itself is tragic and almost unbelievable. So yeah, maybe we'll have to look at a second episode as far as this goes. We'll kind of see what the feedback is from this one, see what people think.
Yeah. So
all right.
Comments go in.
Yes, please do. And we will see you again next Sunday.
We will. Unless all the comments are bad, and then I won't be back.
That's right. Then Amy's going to suddenly be sick on the day we're set to record. She'll be like, I can't make it today. And then I will just say the episode's canceled. There'll be no
all
episode.
The comments saying I show Henry too much sympathy.
That's right. That's right. And it was Anne's fault that Thomas More was executed.
Oh, God said that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just reminded everybody. And on that note, we'll just leave that in everybody's mind, top of mind.
Yeah. Thanks.
I'll see you next week, Amy.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Off the Record on Tudor's Dynasty and Beyond. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you're following the podcast. And if you'd like to support the work that goes into researching and creating these episodes, you can find extra content and ways to join the community through Patreon and Substack. And don't forget, you can now comment directly on episodes over on Spotify. I love reading every single one. Until next time, stay curious, and I'll see you back here for more royal drama and real history.
Stitch Fix. Shopping is hard. Let's talk about it.
I don't have time to shop for clothes.
I have to buy everything in 3 sizes to find one that fits. They know me at the post office.
Workout wear is my only wear.
Stitch Fix makes shopping easy. Just show your size, style, and budget, and your stylist sends personalized looks right to your door. No subscription required, plus free shipping and returns.
Oh, wow. That was easy.
Stitch Fix. Online personal styling for everyone. Take your style quiz today at StitchFix.com.
Security program on spreadsheets, new regulations piling up, and audit dread? It's time for Vanta. Vanta automates security and compliance, brings evidence into one place, and cuts audit prep by 82%. Less manual work, clearer visibility, faster deals, zero chaos. Call it compliance or call it compliance. Get it? Join the 15,000 companies using Vanta to prove trust. Go to vanta.com/calm.